Patricia Scott.
Present.
Thank you. Angela Sherman.
Present.
Wanda Smith. Okay. Lachelle Stamp Spells.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. Tiara Dorsey. Marsha Wilcox. Jennifer Gallagher.
Good morning, here.
Good morning. Jamal Rollins. I know I saw Jamal pop on. Yes, Jamal, you're here?
Yes, hello.
Thank you. James Massey.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. Monica Randall will not be joining us. I don't know whether there's someone on her behalf. She just did say she would not join us. Jessica Conter. Marion Hoyt. David Horn.
Here.
Thank you. Janice Doyle.
Here.
Thank you. Jeffrey Lawson. And let me just circle back to those folks that I didn't hear from just as a double check. Thelma Ross. Wanda Smith. Tiara Dorsey. Marsha Wilcox.
I'm proxy for Marsha Wilcox this morning.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Jessica Conter. Marion Hoyt. Jeffrey Lawson. We have 11 folks. So we do have quorum if we have to make any decisions and votes that we have to take. So thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you, Jackie, for sharing the agenda and the minutes. So the minutes were sent out earlier in the week by Jackie, just making sure that everyone had a chance to review those. And if so, are there any amendments to the minutes, or can I receive an approval of the minutes for October?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Chris. And a second?
I'll second them.
Great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. All right, great. So the minutes are approved for the October meeting as provided. Jackie's also now sharing the agenda for our call today. So we'll start with MHEC updates. Al was going to provide us with some updates on the Promise Scholarship, 2025 EEA, and a few other items. Al, I didn't call your name. I hope you're on the call. If not, we'll skip to something else until Al joins us.
I'm sorry, I'm on mute. I'm sorry. I'm going to go over the updates for MHEC. Okay.
Perfect. Thank
Al
you.
will not be joining us today.
Okay.
Okay. I'm
Thank you
trying
so
to
much,
get the
Jackie.
slideshow shut up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. But what the Maryland State Department, what MHEC is working on now is this is our financial aid update for as of November the 18th, 2024. What we'll discuss is the updated payment process, the Maryland College, Community College Promise Scholarship, the eligibility, the registered apprenticeship program that they're going to start. We're also going to talk about our MD-CATS updates and the updates for the Howard P. Rollins Educational Assistant grant programs for the EA for the fiscal period of 2025 and 2026. Okay. So the first thing is our updated payment process. The WASH process will remain, but it will no longer cross fiscal years when we're reviewing the pending payments. So what's going to happen is before, when you would submit payments for other things, MD-CATS was designed to take, if you owed from one thing and wash it with the other program. But now we fixed that so that now all of the adjustments stay within the correct years. So that's helping with our reconciliation process. but we will be able to view any pending payments that's out there. The pending adjustment will show on this screen for you to view to see if you have any for that year. And it will show the details about the refund. Sorry. It will show the details about the refunds, such as what program, how much is owed, different things like that. I can't see.
Janice
any.
Doyle, you have a question, Janice?
Well, not a question, but I'm just wondering if we can get a copy of this.
Sure, we can send one out after the session is over.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. That's great. A great suggestion.
Okay, now for the Maryland Community College Promise Scholarship, the application for the scholarship, an applicant is eligible for the Maryland Community College Promise Award if the applicant is eligible for in-state tuition, enrolls as a candidate for the vocational certificate, has an associate's degree or an associate's degree, and participates in a registered apprentice program, such as our, the non-credit programs after graduating from high school, or have successfully completed a GED, except for provided in the subsections of this, this section has earned a cumulative grade point average. So, everybody that participates in the Promise program should have a 2.3 on a 4.0 scale. That much has not changed. These are still the requirements that are for Promise. Also, an applicant who has graduated from high school more than 5 years, their application is not subject to the grade point average. But before, we had an affidavit form, so the schools would have to collect whatever information to show that they had the high school diploma. An applicant who enrolls in the non-credit vocational certificate programs, they have to enroll within the sequence programs leading to licensure or participates in a regular apprenticeship program. It's not subject to the grade point average in the requirements. It is also not subject to the requirements in subsection B6 up above, unless the applicant is enrolled in a non-credit program. So in other words, they're not required for the non-credit programs for the GPA unless that is leading to another program. The same as always. Did I get the right one? Okay, the Promise Scholarship and the Registered Apprentice Programs, the Maryland State Higher Education Commission and the Department of Labor are jointly issuing the guidance to ensure students who are registered for apprenticeships can access community college, the Promise program. So the registered apprenticeships are vetted by the Maryland, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Did I skip my slide? I'm sorry. What did I skip? Oh, right here. The registered apprenticeships are vetted by the Maryland Apprenticeship and Training Council and approved and monitored by the Maryland Department of Labor. Also, the community college scholarship program can be used to pay for the related instructions when related to the instruction is offered at the community college. So it can still pay for the apprenticeship as long as it's offered at the community college. The community college Promise Scholarship is to be used for the tuition at the community college, meaning the basic instructional charge of courses offered at the community college. The tuition can include any fees for registration, any application, administration, or laboratory work, and other mandatory fees. The tuition does not include costs associated with the parts of the registered apprenticeship that take place at a location that is not at the community college, or any fees for room and board that are related to an on-campus residential facility for students. The registered apprenticeship sponsors will be directed to reach out to the local community college for assistance assessing the Promise Scholarship for their apprentices. And each community college will require specific documentation to ensure the student is eligible for the Community College Promise Scholarship. The Maryland Department of Labor Division of Workforce Development and Adult Learning for assistance will provide a related instruction course declaration form to the registered apprenticeship sponsors that can be used to identify and notify community college of courses that are required and related as instructions. Sponsors will instruct their apprentices to contact their institution's financial aid office to apply for the Promise Scholarship and submit a copy of the apprenticeship agreement bearing the registration stamp from the Labor Department. Community college financial aid officers should be prepared to begin hearing from registered apprenticeship sponsors and the apprentices. It is recommended that the financial aid office appoint a coordinator to assist sponsors and apprenticeships with navigating through the financial aid processes around the apprenticeship. It is also recommended that the coordinator meet with the registered apprenticeship sponsors, indoor academic, and continuing education staff to discuss setting up the Community College Promise Scholarship for the registered apprentices. It will be important for the community colleges to identify and track students that are using the Community College Promise Scholarship for their purposes of related instructions that is required for their registered apprenticeships. Community college should have appropriate training tools to report this to impact. It may be necessary for some institutions to modify application documents and processes in order to accommodate applications for apprenticeship. We have selected attained partners. Oh, this is for the MD-CAPS update now. I'm on the MD-CAPS updates. MHAC has selected attained partners focused on using Region Education as core of the new system. The current status is on hold. Competitors protested selection. So we have to go back and revisit the MD-CAPS processing system for the new system. The Howard P. Rawlins EEA update for FY25. This is the award status as of November the 18th, 2024. For the EAI, we haven't done any awarding. For the EAR, 9,303 students have accepted. We have awarded out $365,625. We had the students that have been awarded and have not accepted is 69 students, which is a total of $133,750,000. For the awards that were canceled or declined, we had 1,087 students, and that amount of the awards was $1,679,000. So in the grand total scheme of things, there is 10,459 students awarded in the amount of $25,178,375. For GAI, we have awarded and students have accepted the number of 3,702 students. We have awarded $42,538,675. Out of the students that were awarded and haven't accepted, that is 665 students. And that totals up to be $4,281,750. For the amount of awards that were canceled, it was 4,479. And that awarded amount for the canceled and declined is $61,363,850. So after it all averaged out, we have awarded 8,846 GAI students, which totaled to be $108,184,275. Now for GAR, we have a total of accepted 3,422 students, which their award amount is $53,864,305. For the amount of students that were awarded and have not accepted, it was only 7. And that cost comes up to $61,700. For the amount of awards that we issued out that was canceled or declined, that was 196 students, which totaled to be $1,804,000. And our grand total of all the awarded students for GAI was 8,446 students, which is a total of 108 million. I already repeated that number, 84,275. For the R, it was 3,422 that accepted. That was $53 million, 864,305. And we had 7 students that declined. I read that one, which is 61,700. It was 196 that either canceled or declined their awards, was 1,804,000, which is a grand total of 3,625 students, which totaled to $55,730,005. Now for our NGS GAI students, we awarded 89 and they have accepted it. That was a total of $1,312,200. We had 12 students who were awarded and have not accepted, and that is $168,850. For the students that did decline or cancel the award, it was 51, which was a total of $910,450. So in the grand total scheme, we awarded 152 NGS, which totaled $2,391,500. And for the NGSRs, we 137 students accepted, which was $2,328,250. 0 students were not awarded and we didn't have any students that did not accept their award. We did have 11 to either decline or cancel, which was $118,500. So our grand total of everything would have been 148 students with $2,446,750. So our wait list as of November the 19th, 2024 for the EAR, we had 2, which is the total of 6,000 for GA. We had 33, which is the total of $562,200.
Jackie, Janice has her hand raised. Janice, do you have a question?
I do have a question. My question is, has MHEC done an analysis of it? Because the budget, I guess your budget request for next year should have been submitted already.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done an analysis of what this means? Because when I look at GA initial, at the amount that this is,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen next year?
Well, so far we're still going back and forth with right now with trying to get the funding because we are experiencing a deficit within the state. So Al has gone back to meet with them in reference to the funding, but we haven't gotten a definite answer as of yet.
So I would like to request that Al give us a briefing on how they're going to manage this awarding with this kind of situation, which is looming, in my opinion. It appears to me as if that many initial GA are there. Those students were, a lot of them will renew next year. And continue the growth, I don't know. So I'm just trying to understand, how fund management's going to work. There's no money in the budget of the state, I guess. So what's the impact of this? I don't need an answer now. I would like a thoughtful response about what we're going to do with what I see as a looming problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Angela has her hand up as well. Angela?
Thanks for presenting this. I do have a question about the wait list, and the earlier tables that Al had sent out to us suggested that there was like $145 million in the pot. And the way I interpret all of this, there's money left over that even if the wait list is everyone on the wait list accepts the funding. There's still money left over. So are you going to be doing EA initial awards, or is it too late for that?
No, so far, no, we haven't done any EA initial I's because we still have as each student comes in, we still have GAI, EAI that's still left over to be awarded. So we still have to go back to the GAIs and R stuff first. So that's how the pot keeps bundling down. But here goes some of the figures from what we have awarded, and it may be some assistance in some of your questions with the student and the funding, because we do have, as of November the 18th, we have awarded and 88.9.5% have accepted for the EAR. We still haven't gotten to the EAIs because there isn't any funding for them as of yet. We still have the GAIs where they have accepted their awards. So we still have some funding that we still are awarding out because we still have students still waiting.
Thanks.
Thank you. I think Jennifer has her hand, then Thelma, then Chris.
I just wanted to share what Al told us at Tri-State this week. Al, on the previous screen, the waitlist students he indicated were awarded on that date, which was the 19th. So those have been awarded. I asked about EA initials, and until those that are still in an accepted status either accept or reject, they won't be able to award any EAs. He also said that even though the budget, they took 20,000 away and then gave them back 30,000, even though that money was given to them, they really don't want it spent, is what Al said. So the total amount that I thought that MHEC had to spend is not really the total amount.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thelma?
Yeah, so I was actually going to share out what Jennifer also heard because we were in the same meeting with Al. And just because this is being recorded, I'm going to clarify. Jennifer said they gave 20,000 and 30,000. She meant 20 million and 30 million.
Yes.
But I wanted the recording to be correct. But he also indicated that there were not going to be an EA initial awards.
No.
It wasn't it may or may not be. He said the EA initials were not going to be awarded. There's also, similarly for fiscal 26,
right.
There are not going to be awards in EA. And that also included renewals, because I specifically asked about renewals for FY 26. And he indicated that they would not be funded in fiscal 26.
So wait a minute, Thelma, you said, just to make sure I'm clear on this, you're saying that MHEC is saying that next year there'll be no EA renewals.
That's what he shared with us on yesterday, and it was on a slide presentation, and yes, Janice, because we followed up, and it was specific to fiscal 26, the impact to renewals, recognizing that we are not going to get any initial awards for EA this year. That just means what it sounds like. That bucket or pot of money that was EA initial and renewals will go away effectively fiscal 26 unless something else happens from a budgetary standpoint. That did not seem to be the case in the conversation as I understood it yesterday. Jennifer, are we on the same page with what we heard?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Well, I haven't been in those meetings. It's not something that I would be privy to or invited to or whatever, but I go back again to what I just asked earlier, which is I'd like an understanding from MHEC of how they see this playing out next year.
And let me just
Okay.
clarify that comment that you just made about a meeting and not being privy. This was at the tri-state.
Oh, I know, no, I know. It's just not, it's not something I would go to. That's all I'm
Okay.
saying. It's no
I wanted to
Yeah.
be clear about the meeting where this conversation took place. He was given an update
Update.
at the association meeting on behalf of MHEC.
Yeah, this is not a criticism. This is just
I
saying
would
that because I'm not an institutional person, I'm not a financial aid director, I wouldn't have access, I wouldn't be going to such a thing. So I don't have any information except what I'm hearing right now. And that's why I'm asking for, and some big things are happening as we see this year and next year. And I just would like to know, what MHEC's thoughts are and what their plans are for, handling this. Because to me, it looks like we got some big shifts happening.
Thank you, Janice. I would agree. I do think we need some official communication from MHEC, not only what will be happening, but all how, as Michael has pointed out in the chat, how will all this be communicated to our students? So, and now I want to circle. Thank you, Chris, for your patience.
Well, I just raised my hand again. So to follow up with what both, what Janice, Thelma, and Jennifer stated, I think it's very important for MHEC to provide a status update first on 24-25, so that we have in writing the expectation to have no initial EA grants, and then a separate communication on what the current plans are for 25-26. Because, and the reason I'm specifically suggesting a separate communication is there's a separate timeline and we're looking at different things. For 24-25, budget is done. There's no possibility for adjustments. For 25-26, there may be some potential for discussion. But we as institutions need to know that we need to start communicating with students that if you don't have an award from MHEC as of the 19th of November, do not expect one. Because until that communication came out at the conference yesterday, I think institutions were cautiously optimistic that students that were in past years eligible for initial EAs would potentially receive some awarding throughout the year. But if MHEC's status now is that they are not planning on awarding anything, that needs to come in writing to the institutions so we can share that with our administration.
Sure. Okay. I took your note down, Chris.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments on that. I think that's really important. So we know what's happening now, what's happening going forward, and how we can best assist our students. So.
Okay. So here's the update for FY26 when it comes to the Howard P. Rollins. The programs will remain centralized. MHEC will award in May. Eligibility changes identified in HB 923 will remain. MHEC is currently in the decision with the DBM regarding the fiscal 26 budget. MHEC anticipates that no funds will be available for EA, but nothing is solidified at this time. Does anyone else have any more questions?
Jennifer?
Excuse me. Another thing that Al shared in the tri-state meeting was that the awards would not be available for institutions until mid to late May. My question would have been, are we going back to the original deadlines for everything, given the fact that the FAFSA should be coming and is out now, I guess, technically. But he did say mid to late May. I don't know the reason for that. I don't know if anyone from MHEC can share any more information with that.
No, but I will take this question back to him, because I know that the FAFSA end date for the 25-26 year is March 1st. That we did go back to that due date for the FAFSA.
Thank you. And Kristen, I think you were next.
Yes, I'm sorry. At the beginning of your presentation, Jackie, you were mentioning about the 23-24 award adjustments that were made. And I think you were telling us where we could go to see what those were. And I was trying to take notes, but I didn't catch that. Can you tell us where we can go to see the list of the 23-24 awards that you've changed and what those changes were?
You mean for your, for the wash? You're talking about for the wash? What it
Yeah.
is you can view your pending payments.
Okay, and
We can
have
view
those, got it. And have those students, you said here the students have not been notified that these adjustments were made, correct?
These are some adjustments that the school had made, like after certification and different things like that. So we're going out looking at it because the wash is creating reconciliation problems. So what it is that we've redesigned MD caps to prevent this. So that's what this is about. So if you had some pending payments in the past, we're reviewing those, but you can review your pending payments.
Okay, and what about the awards that MHEC has been adjusting for 23-24? I know we've been seeing those come through with some regularity. Is there a way that we can get some notification of like why those are changing or which ones are changing and whether the students are notified of that?
I'm not too sure. You're saying that you're getting adjustments made to the awards?
That's correct. Yeah, we've had students 23-24 awards that have been reduced or canceled, but we're not seeing any reasons for that. And so we have balances for students from last year that we can't explain. And so we're just wondering if there's a list where we can see where those changes are being made and why.
Or you could send us something through the FAO and we can look at the students to see.
Okay, yeah, we'll send another email there and just see what's going on with those.
Okay.
Great, thank you. And Tamika, you have your hand up. Thanks for your patience.
I just need a clarification on the next to the last slide where you said that Rawlings programs will remain centralized. This is including GA as well for FY26.
That's what's supposed to be still going on. It was supposed to be, GA was supposed to have been turned over to the schools and doing the verification. I believe that something changed with the SB 923. But as far as the centralized programs, we'll still be processing those, and the centralized programs will remain with, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm reading something. Somebody sent me something. I'm sorry. But we will keep the centralized programs. The stuff with the 923 will remain the same. The changes will remain. If that answered your question.
Okay.
Chris, you have a question, comment?
Yes, I do. And to go back to the beginning of your presentation, Jackie, regarding the 23-24 adjustments, I'm looking at my institution right now, and I have a number of students that are on the pending adjustments list for 23-24. And it says our next payments will be adjusted by the following amounts. Since the institution is not expecting any more 23-24 payments, and we're only getting 24-25 down the road, but you're saying that they're not going to wash anymore. How will those adjustments be rectified?
We're looking into it now. We're working on those previous washes now, looking into them now, trying to get the adjustments.
And as a follow-up, we did notice that there were some students that had 23-24 accounts adjusted at the end of July. Enrollment statuses were changed somehow in the system. It was not done by the institution, but those statuses have been reinstated. So it now appears that those students are eligible for the funding again, and the institution has resubmitted that. So I don't know if these accounts need to be reviewed as well, or what. Is that something that MHEC will proactively reach out to the schools about, or do we need to send individual email requests for updates by students?
No, I will look in to see what's happening in the system to cause these adjustments.
Yeah, we noticed there were a number of students, and the only consistent situation was something was adjusted in their award on July 30th.
Okay. I will look into that to make sure that it's not an MD caps issue.
Thank you, Jackie.
Mhm.
Bereni?
Hello. I just have a couple questions more specifically pertaining to Promise. When it comes to non-credit courses or eligible non-credit courses, we have a list of non-sequence certificate programs that students can take. For example, a ServSafe food handler certificate, and it's about one course, and at the end of that you earn a certificate at the end of essentially that course or program. Would something like that be eligible for non-credit Promise, or does it have, or do the certificates have to be in a sequence program?
You're saying that you have them, it's just one sequence to the program and nothing else is only required to have one?
Correct. It would be like a one course. It's one course. At the end of the day, you earn a certificate at the end of that course or program. There's no second or third sequence to it, just one.
It should be eligible. We can look into it once we see what the requirements are of the program.
I think Chris and Thelma both raised their hand at the same time.
I think we're going to say the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, it has to be a sequence of courses to be eligible for Maryland Community College Promise. It cannot be just one non-credit course. It has to be a sequence of courses, even though it may lead to a certificate.
Right.
It still has to be more than one course that is leading to that certificate. That's what's in the legislation.
And a follow-up to that is it does not need to be a WDSS approved certificate.
Or it's approved sequence.
Correct. But it does have to have at least two courses to earn that certificate.
Right.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is Carl. Yeah, this is Carl. So what statute said that a student has to be enrolled in a sequence of non-credit courses leading to licensure or certification. So a single course that's not going to lead to licensure or certification is not applicable.
Thank you. I understand that a bit better.
Thank you for that clarification.
I did have another one for MISFA students who complete the MHEC 1 app. It lists the parents' application, parents' income or student income under allowance against income. Can we use that 1 app information to determine Promise eligibility and nothing else? I'm sorry, I'm not sure if my question came across.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on mute. I apologize. It should be used for their need.
It should be used for their need as in to determine SAI.
Is anyone more familiar with the Promise program able to provide any more information on that for Bereni?
I'm sorry, Bereni. Can you repeat your question, please?
Thank you.
Yes, for MISFA students who have to do the MHEC 1 app, it lists their and their parents' income on MD caps under the allowance against income section. Can we use that information on the MHEC 1 app to determine Promise eligibility for MISFA students and nothing else?
So it's my understanding that both the students and the parents' total income should be used when you're considering students for this award? And we're talking about promise?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have to use the total income for both the student and the parent when considering the student for an award.
Okay, thank you. And my last question for promise. According to the FAO manual, the promise reporting or promise roster is due December 1st, but are you guys still working on the promise roster, or are we using the decentralized roster to update promise information?
Right, so please do not use the decentralized roster for the promise.
Thank you.
I just got a notification from Caitlin last night. So we had Chris at College of Southern Maryland testing some of these things for us last week, and he came up with a few things that did not make sense, and I agreed with them. So I presented that to Caitlin last night, or last week actually, and she indicated last night that it is a priority for the vendor to update that, especially that section there where there was a question about multiple institutions, if a student was enrolled at multiple institutions. So there was no need for that on the promise roster, so we're trying to get that removed from the promise roster. The only other thing that came up, I believe, Chris, was in reference to the credits. Their intention is to have everyone use the credit roster to enter in the number of credits for the students. I'm hoping that we can just make it simpler by just adding it to the promise roster and you just put in the number of credits in promise roster. But I'll have to wait until they complete the update to see what they've coming up with next. So hopefully we'll get this together within the next week or so, but that is now priority with the vendor.
Thank you, Paul. Chris, you had your hand raised.
Sure, just as a follow-up, Carl, to that. Yes, I know we were looking primarily at the multiple institutions and the credit enrollment status. Will when we submit the information, because as the roster is currently laid out, it's not asking for any additional award information, just in terms of what the tuition and fees are. Has the vendor made modifications for the calculations since Pell is no longer being calculated on a quarter, half, 3/4 full-time basis, and it's being adjusted on the per credit level?
I believe they have, but I will check with Caitlin just to make sure that's happening.
Yeah, because if we're reporting based on the number of credits, we need to kind of make sure that allowance, so to speak, is also factored in appropriately.
Okay.
So for
And
right
also,
now,
while we're here, yeah. Go ahead.
so just for right now, for the community colleges, at this point, we're not meeting the December 1st deadline for reporting fall semester enrollments because we're still waiting on the roster.
That is correct. And so hopefully that'll be within the next couple of weeks. I hope.
And once that roster comes in, if MHEC can share with us a reasonable time frame for us to turn around that information to you,
Sure.
we would appreciate that. So ideally not a week or two. So once the roster is completely ready to go, because many of our schools may have to have IT requests to have their folks rerun new reports and things like that, which unfortunately is not as quick as we would like at times. So thank you for that ahead of time.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Kristen posted a chat about requesting clarification if schools are supposed to submit both the CBEAG report and the decentralized roster this year. Are we only doing the decentralized roster now and moving forward?
At this point, you should only be doing the decentralized roster at this point. So if you still have any outstanding students for 23-24, please get those in as soon as possible. I am currently working on any partial max issues that come up. So if anyone has any outstanding partial max issues, just please email FAO help. Also, if you haven't started with 24-25, by all means, please go ahead and, start entering CBEAG and grad professionals and part-time grants for 24-25 as well.
Right. And Paul, are you able to share deadlines for this year?
For 24-25?
Yes, please.
Okay. I would say at the end of November or early December for the fall term. The next deadline will be around January 15th, and then we'll have another deadline either in late May or definitely by June 15th for the final roster.
The part-time roster in the FAO manual says it's an annual report, not a semesterly report. So I just need clarification if it's actually annual and we do it at the end of the year, or if you're wanting it multiple times throughout the school year.
Tamika, really quick before the answer, I want to follow up on that. That question is related to, right, are we doing the decentralized roster instead of the part-time grant per year, once per year roster, right? And if we're doing it instead of, are we still also doing the MD CAPS end of year report that is in addition to the roster?
Right. So all of your reports are going to be on the decentralized roster. So everything is basically a one-stop shop, pretty much. The part-time grant, grad professional, DBEAG, everything is just going to be on that one simple roster. And we're trying to keep the dates consistent. It should have been November, January, and June reporting date.
So the dates that are in the FAO manual are accurate.
Yep, ma'am.
I think that's what we're trying to seek clarification on.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So by accurate, my question is, part-time, it's annual. So we're doing it at the end of spring.
And that's fine. If you don't have anything to report and you're going to wait till the end of the year, then that's absolutely fine.
But then we are still doing the end of year report for the foster care, correct?
I would believe so. I'm not too familiar with the foster care program, but I believe so.
Okay.
I understand that Jackie's computer is frozen.
No, I just got back in again.
Oh, okay.
It was frozen and I got kicked out twice, but I'm back.
Okay. Chris has his hand up, and then Jeanette.
Okay, so just to follow up on Tamika's question. For and Kristen, for campus-based EA awarding, we are using the centralized decentralized roster, and that report we are supposed to be reporting multiple times per year. So
correct.
December 15th, whatever that is for the subsequent, the initial, and then the subsequent. So
correct.
It is still MHEC's expectation for campus-based multiple times. For part-time at this point, there is no requirement to report mid-year. We only report for part-time. We're only required to report by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. But you're still using that decentralized roster.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And there was another hand up that seems to have been.
Yeah,
low.
I had my
Jeanette.
question answered by what Chris asked. Thank you.
Your question was answered, Jeanette. Okay. Kristen.
Yeah, it was also me. Related to ICER updates for 24-25, is there any movement there? Do we know if we're going to be able to report updated ICER transactions, and if we're going to test that, or how that's going to work?
So far, let me see, is Caitlin on here? Because so far we haven't come up with a method as of yet for the ICER request.
Okie doke.
Tamika?
Yes, I have another promise question. I understand that the roster for uploading, is not ready. In our last meeting, in a training before, we were told that the actual promise roster that is out in ND CAPS is not something that we should be using because it's incomplete and that you were working on it. Is there an update on that roster? Because I know a lot of schools have renewal students who should be eligible who are not showing up on that roster. Is there some kind of time frame where we can expect that to be a working roster?
Right. So, like I said, we are still finalizing the promise roster. You will be using the promise eligibility roster to upload into the system. So like I said, we're still finalizing some of the fields on those rosters. And once the vendor makes those updates, then I'll let everybody know.
Thank you.
Right. Any other questions? Bernie, you just posted a question in the chat. Do you want to just share that question out loud?
Yes, I just need a bit more clarification for MISFAR or MHEC 1App students. I was wondering if, because last year they were doing the MISFA app and reporting income information on there. For previous years, did MHEC collect additional tax information to verify income, or did MHEC only use what was reported on the MISFA app as income verification for promise?
Some students MISFA students are selected for verification and are required to send additional documentation. But it's on a case-by-case basis, but we do sometimes require them to turn in additional documentation.
Okay, so it wasn't a requirement for everyone, just only if you were selected.
Yes.
Okay, I think that helps. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Tamika. Oh, go ahead.
So far for the 25-26 FAFSA due date, it is March 1st.
Okay. Tamika had a question.
Do you have a date of when the MHEC 1 app for 25-26 will be available?
It's supposed to open December 1st with the FAFSA.
Okay.
Thank you. Chris?
I apologize if this was covered at the beginning of Jacqueline, of your presentation. Has there been any further information on additional information regarding second allocations or adjustments for 24-25 promise, or is that kind of on hold until initial certifications are uploaded?
I believe it's on hold till we get the initial certification. We're still working through that with the roster. Okay.
Thank you, because I noticed it was on the agenda, but it was before the apprenticeships, so I wanted to just make sure I didn't miss something. That's all. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Let me bring the agenda back up.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. We'll move on to the high school plan review, really just a status update. So as of yesterday, we had all of the reviews by FAAC members submitted, with the exception of Allegheny County, Howard County, Anne Arundel, and Worcester. So I will be reaching out to those folks requesting that they submit their review and the rubric. The next steps will be that Juan and I will divide the group, all the feedback that you've provided us, and write a short synopsis of your comments and your feedback for each of the counties. Then prepare that all into one document and submit that to Al and Jackie, and it is due no later than December 1. So we will be working on that piece of the high school plan reviews. From what I saw when I reviewed them, it looked as though many of the schools have really upped their game in terms of their plans. And this may be that this is our third year, I think, doing the high school plan review. So hopefully this is helping the schools. I know they had lots of concerns when they met with us back in the fall, but I feel like it does seem like they are definitely improving in the areas where we've made recommendations. So that's where we are with the plans. Thelma.
I just have a quick ask, and this may have been done last year and I just missed it. Do we, as a FAAC committee, get a copy of the comprehensive report that is submitted?
Chris, are you able to answer that? I don't know if that went to the FAAC group or not.
So traditionally, FAAC members have not received copies of the individual MHEC responses that go out to each of the counties.
Well, I'm not asking about each of the individual responses, but I just heard Ellen say that she and Wanda will compile a report, or will do a report and send it to MHEC based on the feedback. And so I'm assuming that you or someone did the same last year.
Not via FAAC.
What do you mean not via FAAC?
So we did not, neither myself nor Ellen compiled kind of trends or anything like that as it related to all of the individual counties, what was good, what was missing, things like that. Is that what you're asking about?
That's not what I heard Ellen say. So Ellen, would you please, unless there's a reason that you cannot do so, can you send a copy? Can you provide a copy to the FAAC members of the report that is actually sent to MHEC that you and Wanda will compile?
Right. So Chris, last year we did take each of us divided up and we summarized the feedback that was provided by the FAAC member, and that those summaries went to Al by December 1. I don't know whether that was shared.
It was not.
It is not. And I'd have to look to see if there's any reason why it can or cannot be shared.
I would appreciate it if you can do that, because I think it would be helpful for all of us to see comprehensively what is actually happening with the plan reviews, and specifically if our county, right, it would be helpful to know what the reviewer, because we don't review our own counties, what was shared with that particular county as in terms of recommendations. So that if we as the community college or university has some involvement in helping them to facilitate or get to a better place as it relates to the recommendations, we can be aware of that. And then for future reviewers, I think that it's helpful to see what someone else, like if I end up with a county that I didn't have before, it would be helpful for me to see what was recommended, to see if that particular county acted on the recommendations in the current year that I'm reviewing, or if they just consistently are doing the same thing that they've been doing and not paying any attention to the recommendations that were provided from the previous reviewer.
Right.
Thank you.
Understood, and I think those are really good points, Thelma. I don't know. I'll have to look at the legislation to see if they can be shared with the FAAC members. I mean, but I will double check that. And when we have that summary of each county of the feedback that you all provided, then I'll check to see if we can do that. Any other questions, comments, thoughts on that? I do appreciate everyone's help and for everyone, getting their responses in as quickly as possible. I know it's a lot in addition to everything else everyone is doing, so I appreciate that. So the next agenda item is just a sort of an update on our MDCAP system enhancement work group.
Right.
We had 9 members representing all the segments, so public, private, and community college. We met bi-weekly from September 9th through the end of October. And on November 18th, we submitted our executive summary of the areas for improvement and the challenges that we identified to Al. When I met with Al earlier in the week, he wanted the opportunity to review that before it would be shared with the FAAC members. And, that's really up to him, whether that is shared or not. but I think we did a really great job. We very systematically went through MD caps and looked at everything. And so I just want to thank Michael Elliott and Kalian and Leslie, Andrew, Laura, Logan, Crystal, Dawn, Jennifer, Caitlin, and Wanda for just really their the productive meetings and the really thoughtful insight that they put into this working group. I do, Jackie, you did mention that they've selected Attain Partners. Are you able to provide us any more information about Attain Partners? I did a quick Google search. It looks like it's a Salesforce platform.
I'm not too, you know what, I'm not too familiar with them. Is Caitlin here? Because she could be able to better tell you for Attain Partners. But no, I haven't had a chance to meet them, but I know that we are focusing on using them, but right now it's currently on hold.
Okay. Hopefully, and Al had mentioned this, that the working group would have an opportunity to meet with the new vendor to share our thoughts and, you know, hopefully hear more about that. And we would be doing that on behalf of FAAC. So we're sort of a little bit on hold right now for that. So
yes.
Okay, I see a couple of items in the chat before we move to open discussion. Kristen, do you want to share what you put in the chat?
Yeah, there's just a little bit of back and forth chat, and I wasn't sure which one of us had it right. So is it true that there will be, or at least we don't expect there to be, any EA awards, neither initial nor renewal, made next year for 25-26?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And then Marion, I guess if you want to, it looks like she was just looking to know if we could share that with our groups, or is that still internal information?
I believe Al discussed it at Tri-State yesterday.
He did, and your slide, Jackie, that you have in the presentation, there was the bullet on the slide.
Yeah, it was.
And he said that it was more than likely not going to be in fiscal 26. I don't think that he is going to send anything out to anyone until there is some definitive.
Right.
But I think he was giving us a heads up to say, don't plan on it. And so I guess it's one of those, it'll be a great surprise, Kristen, if it ends up being funded.
Sure.
But we have a heads up that it more than likely will not be. That's how he presented the information yesterday.
He says he's waiting for it to be solidified before.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds as though we should wait to receive what Janice and Chris had both asked for, an update on 24-25 and 25-26 in writing from Al regarding the status of all the programs. So
makes sense
before we start making any announcements. That's my interpretation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, to clarify, this is Marion. And so to clarify, I typically share out with school counselors monthly. So if I did share that there is a potential that there would be no awards granted, is that something that is okay, or should I be waiting until we receive official guidance? Because I heard what you said, Ellen, but I want to make sure that I'm providing updates to our school counselors who are obviously anxiously waiting that information as well.
Sure.
Well, we don't have a definite. We're still waiting to hear as well. So we can't say yay or nay.
No,
but
absolutely.
So far it's looking that way. It's appearing to be that way.
Marion, I'm going to share with my VP when I give my update what was presented, and that there is a strong possibility that there will not be funding for EA initial and renewals in fiscal 26.
Got it. Thank you, Thelma. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to open discussion. Are there any points that anyone would like to bring up for open discussion? Marion?
This is just something personal to present to the committee. So I will be out on maternity leave starting in January. We should have someone from the Maryland School Counselor Association representing me by proxy, but just in case for whatever reason, that's not possible, I just wanted to make sure the committee was aware of that in my absence.
Right.
Congratulations, Mary.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Chris?
And I meant to ask this to Carl earlier, in some of the testing that we've done for the Promise roster, we did have some students that came back stating that they were ineligible because their parents are out-of-state residents. However, they are active duty military. How do we go forward? This is the first time I've dealt with that. How do we go forward about getting that information into MDCAP so that the student is eligible?
So can you send me the student's information and then I'll look at the account and see how we can make an adjustment for the military parents.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other items for open discussion? Okay, hearing. Oh,
So
go ahead.
sorry, I'm going to ruin it. Just a quick question about the audit. Did we have any idea when we will start proceedings or when we should expect to hear about an engagement letter for the upcoming audit?
Can you mention that one more time, please?
Yeah, for the MHEC audit for the Rawlings program to audit our 23-24 awards. I know usually, or at least last year around this time, we started to get our engagement letters from CLA. Do we know if that is on track for the same time frame this year?
Yes, it's still on track.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kristen, we received our notification about the engagement letter a couple of weeks ago, maybe.
Oh, great. Okay.
From Robin.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other items? Our next meeting will be December 18th. Hearing no other topics for open discussion, I will call for someone to adjourn the meeting and a second.
So moved. This is Thelma.
Thank you. Thank you, Thelma. Thank you, Jennifer. The meeting is adjourned and we will meet again on December 18th. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care,
Everyone.
bye.
Thank you.